Welcome to another video. This will be a getting started with Imperial Guards within Dawn of War Definitive Edition. So I would recommend to new players to go ahead and they can better learn the basics within a skirmish game. So for example, I will select maybe over here Outer Reaches. You can select any map that you prefer. I would recommend those that are within the ladder, the auto match. You can also see the map size over here. I would not recommend these small maps because you will not have time, let's say, to expand and maybe check the other units. We can also go for this one, for example, Shrine of Excellion. I'm gonna hit accept in this case and I will start as Imperial Guards. Over here, I would recommend that if you are just getting started, maybe you will go with standard. But if you already know the game and you maybe follow some games, I would recommend to go for harder, and after that even within insane. Now I will start this on harder, and I'm also going to discuss various aspects. I'm going to swap this, so the resource rate will be standard. This will be just like within the auto match. And we're going to see how important is this resource rate. And the main aspect when learning Dawn of War is how to manage the resources. And we're going to see that it is quite, let's say, complex. It's not that simple and straightforward as within other games. So let's go ahead and start this. I will choose a computer to be random. And we're going to see, let's say, the standard build order for Imperial Guards. There are several, so if you want fast grenades and so on, but this will be the most standard that will work against most factions. So the first thing that I'm doing when I'm within the game, I'm going to select the HQ. I'm going to press twice GG for Guardsman, then one E for Tech Priest. And with the Tech Priest, I will press B and E for the Infantry, and I will add the Infantry command. I usually recommend to put the infantry command somewhere onto the side, and keep in mind that this will also expand the buildable area. So if I'm building this over here, I will be able to add buildings over here. Now, regarding the capping order, this depends to the faction that you are playing, but let's discuss hotkeys. I'm using Ctrl 7 for the HQ. This means if I want to do a quick scan, I can just press 7 and I can press S to scan. 5 will be the barrack, the infantry, and squads. I'm gonna add both of the initial guardsmen to 1. Now, you can also queue buildings. So in this case, I could have queued that generator. I will also get the command squad. And let's discuss something regarding listening points. So in order to build this will be 100 requisition. And this will initially generate 6 per second. The HQ will generate 20. But as soon as that will finish, it will also give you a boost of 50 requisition. The same for the generator. So you see this will finish. This will give us a boost of 50 power. So that's really, really important. Now, regarding stances, I would recommend to keep your commander like this. And usually people will get a priest. You can also go offensive with this, or you can play defensive and try to support your capping guardsman. That also depends, let's say, to the faction that you are against. Regarding relics, this will be harder and, let's say, to conquer and to capture than others. What is really important within early game is to prioritize creating listening posts. Because as we saw previously, those will give you a boost when they are finished, and after that they will also slowly generate. And usually for those that are a little bit more exposed, for example this one, I would recommend to get that upgrade. You can also go offensive with the commander, but if you are just learning, I would not recommend that. So I have upgraded this. This will also increase the total production to 18. So the standard point will be 6. After that, it will be 12 and 18. What's important is regarding this. So I'm just going to pause this. And I'm going to jump over here within the browser so we can discuss some elements. I'm going to use this website. So mostly I like this is the fact that it will state, let's say, all of the elements. So if you're going to go over here for the Imperial Guards, we're going to see the listening post. And we see over here, this will be the build cost, the build time, And as you can see over here, this will have a return of 50 requisition. So it's always important to have listening points created onto your points, due to the fact that they will, let's say, that amount of requisition that you're going to spend will initially, half of that will be returned when this is finished, and after that this will produce a lot more, so from 6 up to 12, and it will also be harder for the enemy to disturb your economy. Now I recommend this website because you're going to see various tactics over here, and as we can see, we can also go ahead and we can further upgrade this to tier 2. This will increase the total production to 24, and also this will increase the total health of 200. And also the range and damage, so that's important. Even though for some factions, let's say the tier 2 listening post upgrade will offer a lot more. For example, DoW, that will be much more, let's say 45 points. We see over here a total HP for this, 2050. The tau will be a lot more resistant, so 3200. Now, regarding Imperial Guards, Imperial Guards are the faction that will rely mostly on requisition, and this is also visible over here. So if you're gonna make this escalate engagement upgrade, this is created from the listening point. And we're going to see that the first one will provide 20 bonus to the global requisition rate. So consider this that depending on total amount of points that you currently have, I'm currently having 68 over here, that will give me a percent of 20%. And the second one will give 25 out of that already, let's say, increase requisition. And as you can see, this will give us a total bonus of 50%. And this is really important to have this prioritized, especially the first one. As you can see, this can be a little bit heavy on the power, so 250 power is not cheap. It will also require you to have the battle command HQ upgraded, but that will give you a lot of requisition. And as Imperial Guards, you will need a lot of requisition because most likely you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna use the execute command on Guardsmen that will heavily boost their damage. We see over here the weapons for this. So we have Lasgun Bunker. If you're gonna put inside this, for example, a tech priest or a guardsman, that will give this bunker the ability to shoot, even if it will be unupgraded. And the points that will be unupgraded will only have a slot for one unit. We see over here the heavy bolter. So the damage for this one, we see the base damage will be really high over here. So 93 out starting from 45, and this is with the first turret, and this is with units garrison inside. Now, if you're gonna check other factions, they will not have this 50% total bonus, and this is what I would recommend to players that want to learn the game. You're gonna start a game against the AI, you're gonna go with the codex over here, and you will check various elements. For example, if I'm gonna check over here the listening post for Space Marines, we're gonna see that the HP for the 45 will be really high. So we see this will have 40,000, and this will also equip this with an assault cannon, but the overall production for acquisition will only go up to 38%. So keep in mind that for Imperial Guards, if you're also gonna have maybe some additional points, that will only give 6, and if you're gonna add that percent, it will heavily increase. So Imperial Guards will generate the most requisition. And we're gonna see over here the weapons. So over here the damage for the assault cannon will be quite similar, 93 to 120. The range will be 35 for the upgraded one, 25 for the initial one. And this will also give that 50% requisition back. We see that listening post for Space Marine will also produce skull probes, but we're gonna discuss this within the Space Marine guide. Now we mostly gonna take a look over here at Imperial Guards. For Tech Priest, this is one of the most interesting builder within the game due to the fact that it will have commander armor. That means within the early game, it will manage to, let's say, be kept also on the field, but usually it's a good idea to have him within a garrison, and then he will use the weapons within that garrison, either an infantry command, the HQ, or a listening post. And we're gonna see over here that tech marines are really good at repairing, and this is why I usually keep mine on hotkey 3, and within the game, when I'm gonna have maybe a chimera or a sentinel, I will bring those two tech priests closer to the fight, and I will create a new one that will then create the buildings that I still need. And we're gonna see why repairing is really important. This is something that is also really important in Dawn of War 2. And within other games, maybe StarCraft 2 is not that important. Maybe with Terran, you can repair some, let's say, Thors and battle cruisers, but other than that, repairing is not that important within those games. But within Dawn of War, this will be really important. Now, let's go back to the game and let's further develop over here. Now, regarding the hotkeys, I no longer have, so I didn't add those tech priests, so I'm gonna add those to hotkey 3. I'm gonna put those listening points. It's usually a good idea when you finish a building to shift Q and have the worker go to the following building. Since this is against that, I will also try to take that point. And we see that I'm against guardsman over here. Sorry, so Eldar. Okay, I will also kite this. I will not engage in melee, I will just move along, and the units, especially the commander, will shoot while moving. And as we can see, we can take quite a lot of those. We can also press Z and force melee. We're gonna have those benches, so I'm gonna bring additional units over here. I will get another generator because I'm floating out of requisition. And I'll also get a new squad over here. So the warlock died due to the melee of the commander. We see over here that they have rangers, so I don't have any detections because for the commander I didn't leave any room over here for that priest. But we're gonna play this a little bit more defensive. The commissar will also give a lot of HP, let's say, regeneration. So we see over here the total hit point, 1282. And if I will resume the battle, take a look at how fast that. So just in a couple of seconds, 8 hit point restored. Again, we're gonna go to the codex and we're gonna check over here that commander. So we're gonna find it within Imperial Guards, within Command Squad. And it's usually a good idea to have a Psyker against an Eldar that will fill the Rangers, because in this case the AI went for Rangers and went for that stealth upgrade, and I don't have any detection until I will create those tech priests within tier 2. But we see over here the Commissar, this will cost 80 and 40 power in this case, so the priest is the most expensive. But this commissar will give a lot of HP. So in this case, if you're gonna go over here, we're gonna see that this will provide 200 points of bonus to morale, but it will also give a lot of, let's say, hit point, the rate for that. I said this is not present over here. Let me just go back and check if I can click on the commissar a little bit differently. Okay, so the information will be over here. The commissar main purpose in the squad is as a damage sponge and to harass in tier 1. Next to the general, he has more health than any other squad members. Has the highest building damage, so within tier 1, if you're gonna go and poke his listening post, this will have the best damage. Also, the priest will have a really good melee. But we see over here is the only one that will provide a worthy amount of range damage. So with his pistol, and he will also add that additional regeneration. So we see over here that he provides a healthy morale boost to the command. In this case, I don't see that information regarding the HP. So let me just go ahead. If I'm gonna click on this, we're gonna have those tactics. It's a little bit weird that those are not added, but you saw how fast he regenerated. I'm just gonna go over here and I will try to go directly onto the commissar and see if we're gonna have that. Okay, so we have over here the execute, but we see over here provides a passive 200 points to morale, just like the other one, but also and a 3-point bonus to health regeneration. So this is really amazing. And as we saw, we can tank a lot of damage with our command squad. Usually it's a good idea to keep them in cover. For example, over here within this crate, we're gonna have that cover. It will appear like a shield over here, and they will really go back to restore their health. Now let's go further, and I will now try to go for tier 2. I will skip that upgrade building, so it's tactical post or something like that called, and I will go straight to tier 2 in this case. I will add everything within control 1, but as you can see, I will try to play like this. So to split them, I can force melee on that. We see the rangers broke the morale, so usually units that will have that morale broken, you will have to move them out of the fight because their damage will go almost to 0. So it's a good idea. For example, this one is already restored. I'm floating over here a lot of resources since I'm talking, but over here I will add some additional generators. This one usually it's a little bit harder to discuss and also play at the same time, but usually it's a good idea not to float. And over here we see that Tech Priest, he went inside of that building. We have the Farseer, so the Farseer is quite a potent commander over here, especially to deal. So he used his ability on my command squad. It also has a lot of abilities. I'm gonna get another commander, Tech Priest over here. So this is slowly being developed as well. That Farseer died, so since it's an AI, he didn't really play that well. You see over here, the guardsmen are really fragile within tier 1, but after that they will scale and they will become a lot stronger as you add priest and other, let's say, elements, other leaders. I'm also going to add that tactical post and I will hotkey this to control 8. And usually when I want to do an upgrade, I'm just going to press 8 and I can rapidly do that. We see over here that this is quite a hard battle since those rangers, the snipers, will just break the morale of my units. So I will just retreat over here a little bit. And we're going to wait for that tier 2 to be here. And I will also add a commissar, and after that I will start adding priests, and I will slowly develop this into vehicles. So I'm gonna add a tech priest within that building. I'm gonna add the mechanized shop, add that to hotkey 6, and now let's get additional units. And I will make some upgrades, so the tactical control is almost done, and I'm gonna get these two first. Those will give the units some morale and hit point. And I can also, since I don't have any detections for those rangers, I have the possibility to go for this. So Uncommon Valor will allow me to get an additional 2 more members over here for the command squad. Now, regarding the execute, I prefer to keep this within hotkey 2. That means I can just press 2, tab E, and that will execute a unit. And the other squads will be within hotkey 1. And also I know that when I'm pressing 2, the first one will be the command, so I can press tab to cycle to the next one. I'm gonna go ahead and I will do some upgrades. Again, the economy is not that great since I'm doing a lot of back and forth over here. I'm gonna get a Chimera initially, and I will get additional generators over here. This will also increase the efficiency of your generator, so I highly recommend that you're gonna get this improved power for those. As soon as this will be created, I'm gonna go ahead and I will create a priest, sorry, a psyker, and I will go ahead and have those rangers, let's say, addressed. It's usually a good idea to keep your buildings repaired, so I'm gonna create that. We see over here the cap, this will be 12. You will need to add an additional infantry barrack, which is quite cheap. It will be only 125. And I usually prefer to keep it over here because we can also garrison troops within that. Regarding hotkeys, I usually add this to 4. So the secondary barracks will be 4, the first one will be 5. Now we have those priests. We're going to attach them to the other squads. And take a look over here. This will already have a lot of hit point compared to the default one. I'm going to get the Psyker in order to address those. Garrison that. So I'm going to go ahead and I will push. I'm going to press Tab E in order to do an execute. And it's important to have your units together like this. And now they will do a lot of damage. And also when the Psyker will appear, those rangers will be addressed. I'm going to do another execute. And you see over here how much damage those units will do. I'm going to get a Basilic over here. And this is why it's important to use hotkeys. So I'm going to put Barracks 4 over here, 5 and 6. And I can just cycle and I can bring in units. If I want upgrades, I'm going to press 8 and I'm going to do that upgrade. This one, so the Will of the Emperor, is really important. Again, when you are playing this, I highly recommend that you're going to do the same. You're going to pause, you're going to Alt-Tab, and you're going to check this. For example, if you're going to go over here within the Imperial Guards, within the tactical control, you're going to see exactly what those will give. So we see over here, these buildings will also have a return. So in this case, that return will work a little bit differently if you're going to cancel that, as I'm not sure exactly. I'm going to create another Tactica control. So it's Tactica, not Tactical. Tactica control, okay. We see as the tactical control is necessary to get heavy weapons and sergeants. If the building is lost, some weapon upgrades will no longer be available. This leads to some player to build multiple tactical controls in late game. Okay, I didn't know this, but usually I don't have a problem losing my tactical control. We see the hit point. Now, regarding the upgrades, we're going to see that this will increase the health and morale, and also will double the morale rate regeneration. It's not an expensive upgrade, so 75 requisition, 15 power, research time really fast. So usually when you are fighting an enemy, I would recommend to get this and only after that the battle armor. As you can see, the battle armor will increase the health by 25%. Initially it will be 40, so if this will give you only 50, this will give you 40, but this will scale as you're gonna get this as well. But keep in mind that this will be ready a lot faster than the other one. This will also increase over here with the guardsman health, so mostly it's like that. And also for when we're going to attach sergeants and priests, this will heavily increase that health bonus. We're going to have this uncommon valor, which is a good idea because it will also give you a lot more HP to the command and also to the squad leaders. But this is quite an expensive upgrade, and it also will take the research time 1 minute for this. And after that, we're going to have the satellite targeting, which we're going to see this will increase the range. We have the Will of the Emperor, which again will give us additional HP and morale. And this one is really important. So this is again one of the most expensive over here. We see 100, 100. Research time quite fast, only half a minute. But this will double the minimum maximum damage of the grenade launcher. This will also increase for the plasma gun the damage by 50%. Also for the Karskin grenade launcher and plasma. And this is a really good upgrade. We see over here that this will also allow Guardsman Squad to equip up to 5 weapons, so not only 3. And after that, we're going to have the Karskin and the Ogreen, and over here we're going to have that Vindicare Sniper assassin infiltration. Now let's continue with this battle, and again, how I'm setting my hotkeys. I'm keeping the guardsman in 1, within 2 only the commander, and with that squad that will have the commissar, that will enable me to do execution really fast, because within fights you need that every 10 to 12 seconds you will be required to do an execution. And if you're going to check over here the codex for that, if you're going to go for the commissar, that buff will be amazing. So we see over here execute. The commissar executes 1 member of the squad he's attached to. Units with no weapon upgrades will be executed first. And if none are available, then he will also kill those. So keep in mind that if you lost some of the members and you're also going to have only those with weapons, maybe it's not a good idea to have those executed. But the main problem, let's say the main advantage is that guardsmen should always fight under the execution buff. Without that, it's a little bit harder within large engagements. If you have some skirmishes, it's a good idea, but you will have to use this, and that will give you the upper hand against the enemy. We see that the damage will be like this, so multiplied by 2.5. So imagine that roughly your squad will fight with the same damage and the same power as 2.5 squads. And this can also it will not stack, so if you're gonna do multiple execution, that damage buff will not go to 5, but it will refresh that one. So if you're gonna have one executed, it will also have a cooldown. If you only have one commissar, you can't execute multiple times. It will have an inner cooldown. But if you have 2 squads, you can cycle between that. But again, that is not recommended because it will just overlap the timing of that buff. Now, let's go back to the game, and let's see how I'm using those executions over here. Usually the squad that will be in hotkey 2, I will try to center it to the other squads. So like this, and just gonna press tab and E, we're gonna have that execution. Now I can go ahead and I can add plasma. If you want, you can also right click over here for automatic reinforcement, but I usually prefer to do it manually. So I saw over here on the minimap the enemy, so I'm just gonna get a basilic in order to have that. Usually when you create these escalate engagements, it's a good idea to make them from those reselling points that are the most defended to the back. I can also, so over here I see that I added those to hotkey. I'm gonna add all of those to 1. So I can just right click on this and I can set. I see over here that the rangers will engage on me, so I'm just gonna do an execute. I'm gonna bring another basilic over here, so quite a lot of banshees. It's not a good idea to engage with those within melee. Those are some of the, let's say, highest DPS melee units over here. I'm gonna do another execute. I will try to kite those. Over here, keep in mind that you cannot climb on those. And we see that the basilic shot are already starting over here. I'm gonna put those within the chimera in order to have them secured. Because body blocking within Dawn of War is really important, and we see over here that those will be quite important. I see a walker over there, so I can use this Curse of the Machine in order to have that locked. And this is a really good ability because it will lock that and also disable his weapons. I'm also going to bring a Sentinel and I will upgrade this. I'm going to do another execute. Always a good idea to try to disengage because I also have some basilics that are hitting this. So now it will be a good idea to re-engage. And we're going to see how those banshees will melt. I'm going to get the weapon specialization because that will heavily increase the damage for the plasma. And over here the sentinel will be over here. I'm just going to lock it and now I can right click with the sentinel. It's important with the Sentinel to focus on vehicles, because that will be the best damage for that. So I didn't manage to lock that. This is why it's still fighting. It has a sync kill, so it will take a little bit of time, but now it will be locked. This is why I like Dawn of War, because it has those random, let's say, sync kills and everything that will just turn the tides for the battle, so that unit will slightly become invulnerable until that. You see over here that this is a bad position, so the map is not actually in... Okay, let's just go and have that defended. I have another Curse of the Machine on that, so I'm just gonna lock that down. I'm gonna focus. Also, the plasma from the guardsman will do a lot of damage to that. I'm gonna cap that since it will give me some map control over here, and this is very important on this map. I'm gonna get the secondary requisition over here, and we see that I lost that relic. I will go and have that taken back. We see a solo ranger, let's try to cap that. And I'm gonna go and put the pressure over here on this. I will also get the car skins from 4 and ogres from the other barracks. It's usually a good idea to split those. We see that Farseer. So over here I'm gonna do a scan. Keep in mind that that scan will last 30 seconds. So, and the area will be 15 in this case, so a really good ability. It's quite similar to Terrans within StarCraft 2. You see that that still gives me vision over there, so this is really important to be used within the late game, especially with... I'm also gonna get that assassin, and the assassin is again an important unit. Just like the sentinel, you need to have control for that in order to focus the right targets, because it will just decimate, for example, Farseers and others. It will deal with those really fast. Over here, I do prefer to get the car skins faster than the ogres. They will be also more expensive, but they are the better squad in my opinion. The ogres are, let's say, tanky and bulky, but the car skins will also do a high amount of damage. So, usually against vehicles, you can use those priests in order to lock them in place. If you no longer have priests, you can consider to add other commanders, but usually for ogres, it's a good idea to have that priest added. Now, the main advantage for IG is that this will be a defensive. So I have the assassin. I'm just going to right click onto that. And we see the Vindicator. Okay, he used that Farseer ability on my assassin, so really good use of that. And it will just melt since it's really fragile. This is why it's important to get the infiltration for that assassin. And then Eldar will struggle a little bit with the detection, because detection is mostly Seer Council or Warlocks, and this is something that it's not that easy to field in most cases. I see that I don't have any vehicle to repair, but this is why I usually keep Priest over here in hotkey 3, and they will repair units really fast. Now, once you're gonna go within the, let's say, full-scale war, this will be the last tier. I highly recommend to do so, even though within the most games you will not be able to reach that, because they will finish a little bit faster. We see over here that I can add the priest either to the car skin, and they will be really tanky, or I can add them to the ogres. You can just press hotkey T in order to have those disbanded and reattached. So for car skins, usually a commissar is also good, but try not to execute. Mostly keep him over there as a buffer if you no longer have priests, because you are only capped to a limit of 3 priests, and usually I prefer to keep those with the guardsman. For the cap, we see over here keep in mind that the first mechanical command will give you 10 slots over there, so you will have to add an additional one. We see over here on this map, this is unbuildable, this is as well, so the only, let's say, buildable location over here near to this relic will be maybe somewhere over here. So quite a weird map, but many times within the early game I tried to kite over here, but the units will just don't want to go onto those hills in some cases. And again, you see the problem, so that is, it has a, let's say, a bounding box that will not allow us to go over there. I'm just gonna use the stun on the second one, and we see it's already active. So a total of 10 seconds, he will no longer be able. I'm just gonna cast another one because this will soon end. We see over here a Harlequin, but that got melted. So I'm just gonna start adding those late tier units. We can also get a Bandblade. We see that the second command will only give us 6. So if I'm gonna get this, it's called the Mars pattern command for the Bandblade. I will have to get an additional one in order to fill that Bandblade also. I'm just gonna do over here an execute. So I already did that. And we see that even plasmas will just melt those. Now, I'm not pushing against this. Usually, as Imperial Guards, it's a good idea to go within defensive mode and leave those Basilics to do the heavy lifting. I'm gonna get this Bandblade, and you're gonna see that this will also increase over here the total cap to 20. So you can go to the maximum with only 2 mechanized command shops. But for infantry, you will be capped to 18, so you will need to add an additional infantry command post. But you see that this is a lot smaller, so you can add that over here. Now, I will get the Limaras up, so those are some of the best units within the game. I'm just gonna disable that. And I will wait for the Bandblade to be out. You can also go for heavy weapon teams. What I don't like about heavy weapon teams is that you cannot shift queue those. So if you're familiar with StarCraft, you have siege tanks. You can use a shift key in order to have them move to a location and deployed over there. This is something that doesn't work within Dawn of War 1. Not sure exactly why, because I think that will heavily lift the quality of life when you're playing with this kind of units. And regarding the hotkeys, I'm mostly adding everything to Control 1 over here, as we can see. Hotkey 2 will be only for that execution. This is how I play. And from what I've studied and I tried to apply, I saw that this is the best solution, at least in my case. We also have the Bandblade up. And you see, this is, if I'm gonna shift Q this over there and press shift E, it should go to that position and then deployed. But it actually doesn't, so you need to press E again. This is why I don't like that. I find it a little bit harder, especially in late game against DoW, which will try to outmaneuver you. This will be really hard because you need to do a lot of clicking and APM in order to work with this. Also, you cannot have this upgraded only when this is being deployed. For example, the autocannon will be really good. And now if I will have those uproot and move, that upgrade will slowly build in the background. And when they will reach this location, they will be fully ready. In late game, I would recommend to kill the Chimera because it's mostly good as a damage, let's say, sponge, but it's not that good within late game. So we see over here 17 and 20. It's a good idea to have this cleared and make room for another Limaras in this case. I usually try to keep my heavy weapon team within control 4 in this case, or maybe the Basilics. Usually when I'm going for Basilics, I will not go for heavy weapon teams Because now, for example, if I want to see where exactly is that heavy weapon team, it's kind of hard. This why within Dawn of War 3 and within Iron Harvest, they had those bottom panels. Over here, we can press the, so next to the comma, we can cycle through units and we can find that. So this is that squad, okay? And if I will root this, we're gonna see that this upgrade is not actually being built when the enemy, not the enemy, the team is being uprooted and deployed. So you will have to wait in order for this to be finished. We see over here the hit point, 650, and once this will finish, it will still have the same hit point over here. So quite a fragile team, even though it has those satchels around it. So I'm usually gonna add this to Control 4 so I can rapidly use this. But I will also add the Basilisk maybe over here within the same, because with the Basilisk, in some cases, you will have to go and do some additional ground attack. So you can do some scanning like this. Also, there's the Earthshaker, which is really amazing. For example, over here, this Earthshaker will be managed to... We see over here the web waygate will have 1000 hit point, and this will have 200. And the web waygate will just melt in that case. So for some reason it wasn't hit, but we see over here that additional damage. The Earthshaker round is really good, but I would only recommend to use this when you are fully developed. That means you no longer have units to field. We see over here the Lemur Ras will actually be 5, not 4. So I will have maybe to get this Sentinel killed in order to have that deployed. And usually fully developed IG army will look like this. So usually around 4 or 5 guardsmen, 1 Karskin, 1 Ogryn. Regarding artillery, maybe one Basilisk is more than sufficient. After that, 2 Lemarasas. As you can see, this will soon pop as soon as that Sentinel will die. This was already built and we have this ready. So I'm gonna add weapons for those. I'm gonna cycle and see if everything is fully upgraded. And I highly recommend that if you want to learn to play IG, to pay attention to those, because the units will require a lot of upgrades. So compare this to something like Necrons, they will not have that many upgrades, mostly general upgrades, and then the Necron warriors can just march. So again, this will be a little bit harder to play. I usually don't like the Marauder bombers, and also the Hellhounds, they are good, but I prefer to go for Sentinels or Basilisks over Hellhounds, even though within some matchup the Hellhound is really amazing. Now, I'm gonna add also the Baneblade to one, and I will proceed and push. I can also zoom in forward, and I will do some Basilisk shots, maybe one over there, maybe one over there. And I usually prefer to go with the Baneblade first in order to tank, and after that with the other elements, with the other troops. I'm gonna go and I will execute. So we're gonna see over here, all those guardsmen will be buffed. So we have the execution popping now, and not only guardsmen, also the Karlskin will make use of that. So the Karlskins will have an amazing damage with that execute, but again, it's always a good idea not to have this executed. I can do that since I have a commissar with them, but we see this will be 50 requisition, 10 power. It's always a good idea to execute guardsmen. And if you require some repairs, I can just press 3 and I can bring my tech priest. You can go up to a total of 3 tech priests, and you can just have them repair into the combat. And usually this army from Imperial Guards is kinda unbeatable. If you manage to develop these few factions, will be able to take this. Maybe Eldar with the Avatar and the extended one. But other than that, for example, even Space Marine or Chaos will have a hard time dealing with this fully developed army. It's an expensive army to reach, and but again, it will be one of the most powerful. Even DoW will have a lot of problem, mainly because the Bendblade main, let's say, anti-unit from DoW will be the stealth suits, and you can just execute your infantry and they will melt those stealth suits. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you are just getting started, please consider to do this. Play against the AI and try to get used to the basic commands. For example, if I want to field troops, I can just press 4. In this case, 4 will no longer be that additional barracks. It will be 5 because I added within 4 those units. And usually when I'm playing, I mostly field them from 5. So guardsmen over here, 6 will be the mechanized. The Mars pattern will not require, in my opinion, a hotkey, and 8 will be for the upgrades. You can also consider to maybe add hotkey 9 for additional, maybe additional barrack, and you can use on your mouse maybe a special hotkey in order to reach that 9 button a bit faster. Because otherwise, for me, 8, but even 9. I'm not that used to using hotkey 9. I mostly only go up to 8, but I should definitely do that. And in this case, maybe I will keep this to control 9. And then if I want to fill the car skins or the Ogryns, I know that the Ogryns were researched over here, because it's not a good idea to have everything researched within all the barracks. The same will be with the command depot, because for Imperial Guards, those, just like within Eldar, they will require additional resources. And resources are really important within Dawn of War. We see over here that a fully developed relic will only give, in this case, 14, this only 11. This is because they will slowly reach, let's say, a lower rate, and as the game will go forward, those points will generate fewer resources. And in this case, we see that the opponent will still have over here some buildings, and the game will only finish once those will be also annihilated. Okay, so again, try to play a game against the AI, and just like I said previously, I recommend that you're gonna Alt-Tab. You're gonna go to this website or some similar website, and you're gonna check and you're gonna read all of those, and you will better understand how to play Dawn of War. So it's just the same like within Dawn of War 2 Elite. This will be, in my opinion, a lot more complex than Dawn of War 1. I know that a lot of people will say that since Dawn of War 2 doesn't have base building, it's not that complex, but it actually is regarding the damage type. So if you're going to check over here the Guardsman, we're going to have a lot more information over here regarding the armor type, the weapon type. If I'm going to go over here within weapon, we're going to see how many weapon upgrades will be available. And if I'm going to go, for example, on the plasma, we're going to see over here this damage per second chart. So we see that the plasma will give damage to the commander, to the infantry, but mostly to heavy infantry and super heavy infantry. Also, it will do some damage to vehicles and buildings. But if I'm going to go for something like the last cannon, we're going to see the DPS to vehicle 0.09, so almost none. But for the commander, that DPS will be really good. Over here, the screen. In some cases, if I will Alt-Tab from Dawn of War 1, the screen will have those freeze areas. Not sure exactly why. But again, I really like the fact that Dawn of War 2 Elite has this well detailed codex, and this is something that I only have found over here on this website. Okay, so again, I hope you had enjoyed this kind of content. I'm going to position a similar video on the left side, and I will also add a subscribe button to the right. So that's it. Thanks for watching.